This is Joy News Today, rather. Now, the National Economic Forum aimed at institutionalizing regular consultative machinery to promote economic dialogue between the public sector and social partners is ongoing at the Kosumbu. President John Dramani Mahama, who gave the keynote address at the forum, said let's take a listen to the president.
My fellow citizens, one of the most dangerous conditions that we as a nation can allow to exist is cynicism. We need to speak in order to be heard. We cannot remain silent on issues that affect our nation. We need to talk with one another rather than at each other. And we need to listen, to be thoughtful in our consideration. We will, of course, have divergent views. And even if we agree on ideas, we may differ in our opinions on how to implement them. But what we do share, what we will always have as our common ground, is our intention. We all want to see Ghana succeed. And to that end, we all want to find a solution that is practical, a solution that is sustainable. It is in the spirit of inclusiveness that we have invited you here today, and that you have also graciously accepted. The circumstances under which this forum is being held make it markedly different than the previous two economic forums. Firstly, Ghana is no longer just another developing country. We are classified as a middle-income country. Truly, we're currently at the lower end of the middle-income spectrum, but we're working hard to consolidate this new status. We're working hard so that soon enough we can attain upper middle income status and shortly thereafter graduate into high income. Secondly, we're in the midst of overcoming various challenges associated with this new national income status, while at the same time striving to develop the institutions that would enable us grow and transform our economy at this time of great volatility and uncertainty in the global economy. Three aspects of these challenges to which I've referred have remained particularly persistent over time. These are: one, the rising debt levels as well as the associated burden of servicing them. Two, the disproportionate amount of government revenue that goes into the payment of salaries and benefits of the public sector workers and pensioners. And three, the resultant high budget deficits. Every government that Ghana has had over the course of the last decade has had to confront some of these challenges. This alone implies that the challenges are of a complex origin, that there are structural problems that have taken years, in some cases decades, to manifest. It implies that they will require the sort of solutions that we have gathered here today to create. Solutions that have been subjected to the scrutiny of many. Solutions that have been shaped by the voices, the hands, and the visions of many.
We'll talk about this now here in the studio. I have here with me, David Agbe is just joining the conversation here. He's Executive Director for the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. And earlier on, if you've been watching our live coverage, I've been speaking with Gilbert Ibrahim, who is an economist. I'm going to start off with you, David. Your thoughts about the President's keynote address?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I think that is a good occasion that the President is talking about how best Ghana could be well, reformed. But in my view, or on the views of Ghana Institute of Governance and Security, we thought that they should have set the agenda, publishing the agenda for everybody or every Ghanaian to be well involved in this planning. So that at least everybody will get to know that these are the issues put before the table.
Let's try and explain what you just said. Publishing the agenda, making everybody a part of the planning.
Precisely. So that at least we know the thematic areas
on that point.
For instance, they are going to discuss a whole lot of issues, which we thought that if they should have actually itemize the issue one after the other so that everybody will get to know that these are the issues that they are going to discuss at that forum.
There was a program lineup on the website presidency.gov.gh. What was that?
Precisely. I mean, they could have published it into the dailies so that it will actually help everybody to know that these are the issues that we are going to discuss. But as it is now, a lot of people are lacking information. You recall that the opposition party says that it is not even necessary to organize some of these events. But if the agenda could have been published, actually everybody will be aware that these are the issues, these are the critical matters that are going to be discussed. So it's a good platform, but we thought that they could have done it, in a better way, so that everybody will know the thematic areas that are going to be discussed, so that everybody will be, involved. It is part of corporate governance. It is part of governance process to let everybody involved into the decision making, so that nobody is left out.
Gilbert, you think that was the problem? I thought it was on the website. The internet is widely used.
I don't see it as a problem, honestly, because the team was given, and whoever was invited, whoever saw it, there's a broad team. And that's a consensus on, I think it's even rolling on your screen, consensus for economic and social transformation. That is the broad team. And mostly if you look at this for organized worldwide, like I followed very well the World Economic Forum. They come with a team. And mostly, the target is always the corporate world. For example, they want to look at the top global growth company. They get the 360. Then the broad is there. Let's take the Nigerian one. The team was inclusive, fostering inclusive growth, creating jobs. That's that. Then various groups who have opportunity to deliver any speech there for the discussion will now prepare based on that and come and deliver. Then after that, the discussions will come in. So you realize that corporate groups will see what they are doing right and some things that they were doing wrong, and obviously things they could change and add up. Now, coming to this one, the team is there. It's a consensus building for economic and social transformation of this country. That's broad.
So on that note, I'm going to leave the conversation with us here, but you're not going here to talk about the keynote address itself. Let's go to Akosombo now, and my colleague Jennifer Jane is with us.
A very massive, we cannot escape it with ease. And getting away from it is going to be pretty difficult unless we're ready for a very serious cleanup that would require bold and selfless men and women. We've done it before, and it can be done again. And I think this is what probably the last speaker was also trying to say. We find ourselves in some pretty tight situations, but somehow we just don't seem able to see when it started. And yet, if you look and listen to the statistics the last speaker gave, it might give you an idea or an indication of when it started and what I'm talking about. I've always said it, but the propaganda machinery, keeps trying to disrupt it. But now we can hear it for ourselves.
How did a situation we can rescue, or it's totally dead?
That's the point I just made. It's not totally dead.
Too bad we lost that feat there, but former President Jerry John Rawlings was speaking about his own assessment of what has gone on so far. And when we get our technology right again, we'll bring back that conversation with the former president. Meanwhile, I have here with me Gilbert Ibrahim, to my far left is an economist, and David Agbe, Executive Director for the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. let's start off with the president. And David, I'm going to start with you again. The president has made mention of a number of things. How we're looking at taking out ghost names from our payroll, how we're looking at improving productivity in the public sector, even our debt ratio to GDP, how we're looking at managing all that as well. Your assessment into this keynote address?
Kamani, is it not sad enough that till date we are still talking about how we can eliminate ghost name in our payroll structure? It is a shame onto this country. I mean, how many civil servants are in this country? A bit more than 600. And till date, Ghana, 57 years now, we cannot eliminate those people who are, I mean, that animal called goat name.
But then you want to give him the plus that he's taking the step to do that.
For how long? For how long could we continuously drum this thing that every year we are going to eliminate the ghost name every... I mean, for how long a country like Ghana? It is so sad. If this simple thing we cannot do it, then we have no business governing. It is sad. Every year we keep on talking the former administration, MPP era, NDC era, till date. Who are those, ghosts in the salary structure that we cannot identify in this country? Where are they? With this technology world, that we know that we have number of teachers, we have number of nurses, we have number of these people, and we cannot eliminate these people. And the president has to every year, talking about this matter. And for me, I don't know. We need to seriously reason beyond what we are seeing. We are not seeing, vibrant, leadership ready to, fight for this country. I am not seeing it. I am not enjoying that moment.
Gilbert, your assessment of a lot of the pointers the president gave in his keynote address.
Yeah, he said listening to the president and the issue with the commitment of government, and then when listening to Dr. Izamako, who came, he talked about discipline, fiscal discipline. He talked about how to keep the that majorly fiscal discipline. Maybe let me make a comment on this ghost name. Ghost name issue, it's very common. It's still there. Even within the developed country, you still have issues of ghost name, and they're still battling with it. Ghana's case, it's there. And remember earlier we talked about the activities of civil servants. It's not government and ministers sometimes who put these things there. It's mostly between most account staff, some financial institutions, because without the bank you will not be able to take it, and some institutions within the controller. It's more like a syndicate, and they beat the system. But obviously you see several head counts that government has put within all sectors, where you would have to be there physically to complete a process. And they also brought this biometric issue where everybody physically will be involved. So it has reduced it. But the commitment, if you're listening, is to hit it to 0. That means the edge to deal with it, it's there. It might not be excellent, but that if you work within, if you interview most people who are working in departments, the biometric system helps strongly to reduce. And when you look at the figures, it reduced the expenditure within that committee because they were able to take care of a chunk of the ghost names. So the point that who gets them there? Now how to trace to get these people? And I think the punishments are not huge enough if they catch the culprits and they get away with it. That's where maybe I agree with him.
That is precisely what we are talking about.
But then if you listen to the president, it's obvious there are issues. And it's obvious government got some things right. Obviously some things are not right. He pointed at some of them. And most of the speakers, they are talking about the same thing, just semantics, just running around with different terminologies to address the same macro situation we have. And now the forum is there. Let's put the way forward. As to the team, I don't see most fora that comes out with specific thing that you want the people to do. It will be too tight and too close. You are limiting thoughts. And this is an area of ideas. So I don't believe that tag people with team. This, talk about this. No. we want a consensus on issues of social and every economy, the sectors, we know the Ghanaian sector. That's why we have units representing almost every sector there. The business community will look at how the policies, the environment, and how issues within their own can cause them to add up to the GDP. That's why they will present a paper. All this will be done before the units. That's why they're saying that if you listen to the announcement, the civil society groups are there with that specific names as who represents. But if you are there and you will join and you just add your name and join. So that means you look at the scope now. Right. Decide your expertise, where you think you'll be relevant. And share your idea. Then the issues, and within those sectors, obviously the main skeleton of the Ghana will be there. Then you will have to see how you can clothe it. And that's where creativity and the genuine ideas will come without giving people to a specific line of thinking.
We'll come back to our conversation here, but Deputy Minister of Finance, Kwehurikis Hagan, told Mike Gabriel Adumanko-Enchi, Ghana is moving from subsidy-based economy to that of a market-adjusted one. The Deputy Minister of Finance also noted Ghana's lower middle income status, which is one of the things the President addressed, means it is unable to get sub-loans it used to get in the past and has to work its way to secure other sources of funding. Let's take a look at that.
Things are changing around us. By us attaining a lower middle income status means that we are not the country that we used to be, some years back. And which also means that we need a different approach in basically addressing our economic problem. There's a saying that, you can become a victim of your own success. And what is basically happening to Ghana at the moment is that as a result of the successes that we've chalked in the past, we have become a victim of our own success by becoming a lower middle income country. It presents opportunities and challenges. And the opportunities, before you can actually realize them, you must address or deal with the challenges for you to be able to see that opportunities. And that is where we are today. We used to be able to get, say, a 40-year loan, concessionary loans, grants, and other sort of soft loans. Those are not going to be available to us going forward. It is part of these changes that we are experiencing some of the difficulties that we have today. We have also become a country that, if I can put it that way, we have become exposed to the market, which means that, it's like you have listed a company in the Ghana in a stock exchange. When you are a private company, nobody probably knows about your business.
Right, that was a Deputy Finance Minister, Kwehurikis Hagan. But Finance Minister Tetekpa is on the floor at the National Economic Forum. He's speaking to the media, as I understand, at the National Economic Forum. Let's take a look. We'll come back and continue our discussion here. Well, we'll bring you that later. But you had Ricketts, and he made mention of loans. And I just want to rope in what the President also said about our debt servicing, ratio with GDP, and the fact that we want to now look at loans that can self-service themselves with regards to the kind of projects we enter into. Your thoughts on that?
You see, when it comes to these loans and issues, middle income, obviously we cannot access some of the funds. And there are some funds to buy status we're able to. But most people do not want government to even go into them because of the debt servicing, because interest rates sometimes are huge. But then, debt in itself is not good. But if the debt can service itself, used properly to service itself, it's okay. Every country owes and every country would owe. And we will borrow and they will borrow. But what you do with it, you see, you don't go take a loan from whichever market, money capital market, come and pay salaries. There's no way you can finance it. You can take loan, come into industry, growth comes, and you can generate extra, create the jobs, you will service it comfortably. Otherwise, no businessman will take a loan if loan is that bad. But what you do with it, in terms of productivity, in terms of servicing the loan, and remember, you have the interest and you have the principal. And that's where the issue is. So the priorities of the nation regarding how we use the money is the issue. But taking the money itself, I don't see it a problem. And I don't think anybody will think government should not take when we know that this loan comes and is able to resolve this matter and the loan is also able to finance itself, then we have aggregates of several of them. Some are lucrative, some are economically viable, they're able to service themselves. Some of the loan will come into sectors, that's the social component of government, that the service cannot finance it, but the gains in the other one by aggregate, they're able to cancel out. Then the total debt servicing of the nation will be good. Because if government goes for loan to go into water supply, you don't expect government to charge economic rates so that the water supply will service it, because it's a basic necessity. So some basic losses are accepted. But if you go for loans into another sector, you should get to another area that can really increase the size of the economy, so that the returns on it can cater for some of the subsidies that comes here. So that's where the balancing comes. And it's all about policy. And it's all about who runs it and who implements it. And who implements those ones? Ghanaians. And when the money comes into Bank of Ghana, it doesn't go to the seat of the presidency for implementation. The projects are run to the ministries. They apply, they get to the ministries, and they execute them. And it falls back to the Ghanaian. Some are not politicians. You see, the entire system needs to get focused into love Ghana. And I will take it back to the level of education. There are people today, give them what we hear names of politicians heading institutions, and we see how the funds go. Are they not Ghanaian? So must the president, and then we have some institutions. Maybe let me just go a little into mention a few names. Take the SADA issue, come to toll issue. Top people, are they not workers? Are they not Ghanaian? Are they not paid their salary? Don't they have whatever? So must the president, the vice, and everybody leave the presidency, come and manage toll again?
Well, David, what's your own assessment, your view of the country's loan culture and debt servicing culture?
To a large extent, I agree with the submission made by Gilbert. The reality is that here we are, a population of almost about 25 million. We cannot tax everybody. And government use tax to develop the country, to do all kinds of infrastructure. So we are lacking the ability to tax everybody, to rope everybody in, to be able to pay tax and do developmental projects. And so the next option, what do you need to do? You need to go in there and borrow money. Those are the sources of government funds. And so when you apply for a loan, actually you should know what you are going to use your loan for. And so if we are going to take a loan to do a water project, the loan is meant for water project, and that is the end of it. If you are taking a loan to construct road, you should be able to take the loan.
David, I'm going to have you hold that thought. Let's go back to Akosombo, where Deputy Majority Leader is speaking to the media, Rashid Pelpo. Let's take a listen.
People are running away from and make money out of it. So that is the kind of challenge he's giving to the private sector and to the public, that the situation we find ourselves is lucrative for business, is good for private investment. We are looking for private money to put on roads, to put on hospitals, to put on schools, and we are looking for private money to create jobs for people, and government is willing to partner them. So that's an opportunity for the private sector.
Would you say government has been true to its word over the period? I mean, over the period in these economic challenges to the private sector, such that they should be able to stick their necks out and take risks?
Yeah, government has shown the way. Government has shown the willingness to commit itself. It's for the private sector to take up the challenge and then approach government. And as he was saying, the president was saying that he had had meetings with them. They have compiled the report of the meeting, they presented it to him, and he has asked them to put it down in such a way as to develop a roadmap for us to relate with the private sector in ways that will be beneficial to both the private sector and to government. So government is serious and committed, and we want to make this forum a platform to address challenges of the private sector in ways that will continue to change the structure of the economy. Right now we have an economy that is dependent on, as you heard, on primary products, gold and cocoa, for example. And we are not diversifying, we are getting stuck. There's a need to diversify to make the economy more efficient and to be able to penetrate into new markets, to create more wealth for the Ghanaian economy.
Thank you very much.
Right, quick correction there. Rashid Pelpo is the Minister of State. We've been discussing this, but just before we get into our studio discussions again, leader of the Great Consolidated Popular Party, Dr. Henry Latte, has reiterated, he reiterated that the key to addressing Ghana's challenge is domestication. He repeated, Ghana must be able to produce what it needs and reduce imports.
The situation is about domestication. Domestication is making Ghanaians produce Ghanaian products that we import here and also export what the European market is looking for. But it's very important that on the export side, the European market is not an easy market to get into. Access is difficult, so government has to help the exporters with global gap. If you don't have global gap, you cannot export into Europe. If you don't have organic certification, if you want to export organic fruit, you can't go. And then you have to have fair trade as well. So all these things have to be helped, given to the businessmen as a stimulus to give them the strength to be able to enter the European market to export our produce to give us the revenue that we need to move Ghana forward. We have to reduce our imports and we have to increase our exports, and that's the bottom line. If you don't earn any income, no amount of English will do it for you. Produce, 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 export, export, export.
Right. And so that was Dr. Henry Latte earlier before the forum started today. He's still on his domestication. I'm here with me still in the studio, Gilbert Ibrahim, rather, to my far left, and there is also Executive Director for the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security, David Agbe, to my immediate left. So, gentlemen, we're talking about our debt servicing culture and the fact that there's nothing wrong with going for a loan, but if you do, use it for something so that paying back the loan is not such a difficulty. Now, the President has spoken of a way to do that, to look at the, if we can enter projects that can be self-servicing. Right. As far as the loan repayment is concerned. Is that our best shot?
That is one. You see, in Ghana, the government is doing everything, almost everything. And that's why I think I agree with the PPP initiative, where the private sector will take care of some of them. And these same funds can be sourced by this private sector with the public. And they provide the same services, and they will finance this properly. But you see, another issue is that the local consumption. America is American because they have a large consumption. Target demand is huge because by their distribution, they have a large middle class. And so consumption is high. So because the consumption is high and the pride in the American to consume made in American good, even if it is made in China, sometimes they are cautious to know that it's produced by an American company in China. And that's where they will, by their standard board specification, and they'll boldly go for those ones than go for raw Chinese company. That's the pride. And they started with made in America, consuming American stuff long time. And I heard it in the speech of the president that they will aggressively pursue policies that will promote made in Ghana goods and encourage Ghanaians to go into made. That is another major step. If all Ghanaians, lately I admire Ghanaian ladies a lot. Look at your outfit. It's lovely than any foreign thing you would wear. And myself, I'm more Western. Even though my best if I really want to, I like African print most of the time. And it's good. And you see that within that side, there's progress. Then we come to manufactured goods. That's what the issue is. And you realize that even most of the companies that are doing it are foreign. Why don't we empower and you see, the lifestyle, he made a very strong comment that the days of sole proprietorship is over in this generation. Let's go for mergers, acquisition, and partnership. You see, but the Ghanaian wants to be the boss. For him to lose that control and partner with you, saying that he's not able to call the shots again. Most Ghanaians don't want it. They still want to be there. Even if, and you see that if the returns come, they go for a lousy Benz car and the shop is still in a container.
But everybody likes to live good.
But that's the petty, the measures and acquisitions.
David, I have to take a breather. But before we do that, David, he's spoken of partnership. This partnership mainly will come from the private sector.
That's right.
My question is, over the years, have those things been helpful to us? To what extent have they been helpful?
Partnership. The partnership, Ghanaians do not like partnership.
Oh, but
we always like the sole proprietorship. Let me tell you one thing. McKinsey, one of the well-researched, person when it comes to marketing, came to this country, and the survey that he did, almost 98% of Ghanaians are into sole proprietorship. And that's the problem. So such a country, how could you be able to develop? And Ghanaians like this individualism all the time. They don't want to go into, partnership, joint venture, and become a conglomerate organization.
We should enter partnerships, but we should manage to put proper checks on those partnerships.
For example, partnership, that is where corporate governance and all those things come into play. But the person wants to do it on his own, and so nobody comes in there. If you look at the recent global, the recent
we have to go down.
The recent economic
we have to go down.
If you look at the 360 companies in the world, 16 that are coming from Africa, 6 are from Nigeria, 6 from South Africa.
Gilbert, I'm sure we'll continue this conversation tomorrow, but we'll end this one today. Thank you very much once again for your time. Gilbert Ibrahim is an economist. David Agbe is executive director for the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. So there's been a conversation around the National Economic Forum. When you